Hi, I'm Nikki Felbert. I'm a filmmaker and continuous seeker of life's truth and natural magic. And here's where I get to share amazing interviews and findings with you, from people that have followed a calling and have a wealth of knowledge to share. This series of podcasts focuses on different aspects of the sacred sites I'm working on for my film, so I get to do some extra research and share it with you. Nestor, thank you so much for joining us. Nestor is the founder and co-director of the Association of Sound Therapy. He's an overtone singing expert and he's a musician and teacher, among other things. He has his own place with his partner where he does his teachings, and it looks absolutely beautiful. Nestor, thank you. Thank you for joining us. And I'm so interested in your overtoning. It's really come back to me. I had the privilege of doing an overtoning weekend with Nestor when he was in Cape Town, probably around 2 decades ago. And it's really come back to me. I don't want to say exactly when, it gives away my age. But it's with the vibration of the sound. It's been used in some of the sacred sites that I've been working on for my film with Dean Laprini. And it seems that they've really built sites to be able to use those wave sounds for healing. Can you tell me some of the healing aspects of all these different wave sounds?
Okay, that's kind of a multiple question.
It
Firstly,
is.
Nikki, it's great to see you after these approximately 20 years, back when we were just very young teenagers. Yes, overtone singing amplifies the pure frequencies of which all sounds are made. So this is vitally important because all sonic or vibrations are composed of pure frequencies, which stand in a very fixed mathematical relationship to one another. And one of my quotes, hopefully soon to be a famous quote, is that when we sing overtones, we are literally sounding the mathematics of creation.
I actually wrote that down when I was going through your website because I loved that so much. It definitely should be a famous quote.
I certainly hope so, because that's literally what it is. What we're doing is we are, with overtone singing, is using the chamber, the sacred chamber of the mouth cavity to amplify those pure frequencies within the voice so that they can be heard in their purity for the first time. We all have these frequencies in our voices. Now, around about the time you did that overtone workshop with me way back in, it must have been 2000 or 2001, around about there. In fact, Dean Laprini took Michelle and I around the coast. We parked our cars, God knows how, because it's quite a treacherous, windy road. And we went into a chamber that we could barely fit into, the two of us, a sandstone chamber that was lined up with the sun on the solstice and at certain times of the day. And there was an amazing combination of sounds and energy. And I did, in fact, sing some overtones in that space. I do know that overtones resonate particularly well in echoey spaces, in spaces where the sound tends to travel. And in general, spaces that are rounded or curved.
Yes.
Like the dome, like the dome center that we've actually built here in Spain is a hemispheric building that has the acoustics like a large church. I mean, it's really amazing. I feel that the harmonics, they have a very powerful effects on the human brain. Yeah. on the brain waves and the brain hemispheres, on the nervous system. They have very powerful effects of calming. They provoke alpha or even theta brain waves, because normally we're in beta brainwave frequencies, which are when we're in an active, awake state. Alpha is more of a meditative, but still alert, aware, focused state.
Yeah.
And theta is very, very deep, almost trance-like state. So those states can be provoked by overtone singing, particularly if you're the listener. Right. And not the actual singer. Because if you're the one singing, then you have to retain enough awareness to be able to sing. Having said that, when I do sing overtones, now that I've had many years of practice, obviously, I no longer need to think consciously, oh, what am I doing and what note am I going to hit next? Literally within a few seconds of starting to sing overtones, I kind of open up like a channel, and those tones flow through me. And sometimes it creates a little melody that's been going around in my brain. Sometimes it's the melody that's in my heart in that moment.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just like a little riff, little melodic pattern that is what I need to restore my own balance or harmony in that moment. Because mostly us musicians, we are very selfish, although we express our art, and hopefully from our heart more than from our heads. We're actually creating the music that we ourselves need. And if everyone else likes it, so much the better, and they're welcome along for the ride. But actually most musicians are writing and transmitting what they need to transmit for their own personal satisfaction, pleasure, and balance.
That's such a beautiful metaphor for any artist, actually. You're creating for yourself. You're creating for the sake of creating and expressing. And whoever's drawn to that, that's wonderful, rather than creating for an audience.
The thing is, it's good to reach as many people as possible. If you only reach one person and you're able to transform or be instrumental, if you'll excuse the use of the word, in transforming their lives, then that is a very important step.
People all have their music that they love, but have you learned to listen to it in a different way? Have you learned to really take on the vibration of the sound? And you do sound journeys as well. That must be such a beautiful experience in the space that you have. Tell me a bit about that. Do you use different instruments as well as your singing?
Yes, we use quite a few different instruments. So typically in our sound journeys, we'll use gongs, a whole host of Himalayan singing bowls, the metal hand-beaten bowls. Yeah. They used to be called Tibetan singing bowls, but of course, since the Chinese invasion of Tibet, they are now mainly manufactured in India and Nepal. So now we just call them Himalayan bowls.
Right.
Didgeridoos and various types of chimes. I play didgeridoo as well. Voice, Native American flutes, overtone flutes. So typically a sound journey will last about 45 minutes of pure sound. I know there are people who go longer, but it's just simply overkill. You absolutely don't need to go more than 45 minutes for a sound journey. And these are also powerful, very powerful processes.
Does it matter if you're awake or if you've fallen asleep?
No, it doesn't matter. Obviously, if you're awake, you will remember each and every instrument and consciously feel its effects on you. But if you were to pass out, which is fine, then the sound is being received both by the ears, the brain, and the nervous system anyway. And in fact, It might even be better because there will be no blockage or resistance on your part. If you fall asleep, the pure sounds will be entering both through your biofield, through your energetic bodies, as well as the entire surface of your physical body. And most people don't ever consciously think about this, but the ear never sleeps. You know, there's a tiny little muscle in the inner ear that is the only muscle in the body that never ever rests. That is why sounds have the ability to wake us up. In fact, we owe our survival as a species to that little muscle called the stapes muscle, which is vibrating constantly because sounds wake us up.
I certainly have experienced that when my daughter was a baby. You wake up really quickly when they start to niggle.
I remember that well. Yes, I used to croon in a very deep voice to my daughter when she used to wake me up at night. But literally, if the ear was not active all the time, then probably we would have become extinct. You know, hundreds of thousands of years ago, the predators, saber-toothed tigers, would have eaten us up in the cave if sounds were not able to wake us up. So it's very important. While you are asleep, you can still listen passively to sound. So in a sound journey, it will still have all the power and beneficial effects as if you're awake. I love South Africa because they also call it sound journeys. Yeah, 25 years ago, Michelle coined the phrase sound journey, and we thought we were the inventors of this. And then we came to South Africa for our first visit way back in 1998, and we did a presentation at the Drum Cafe in Johannesburg. And so we said to people, and yeah, we offer sound journeys. Do you know what those are? And they were like, yeah, man, we've been doing sound journeys for a couple of years here in South Africa. And I was like, hey, but we invented that. No, we've been doing these for a couple of years. And of course, now all over the world, it's gong baths and sound baths.
Yes.
And we do not offer sound baths. A sound journey is an experience where your physical body is protected in a safe space, in a safe container, and allowing your spirit, your soul to travel, to leave your body behind and go where it needs to go on the astral planes, or to have literally an out of body or freed from the body experience. Sometimes the sound journey will provoke other reactions that are not always lovely and pleasant and beautiful, because otherwise it wouldn't be a healing experience. Healing covers the whole gamut, the whole range of human feelings, emotions, experiences. And if you want to offer healing, well, some of the sounds might give you a kick in the backside. You know,
right.
They're not always designed to be just beautiful.
Right.
Although it helps.
Yes, it's nice to listen to. But I've experienced sound journeys where it's not all nice, and it's very empowering at the end. It feels like a lot of shifts happen, and it's still all very pleasant. It's still, as a whole, because there's so many beautiful sounds that you feel going through your body. It's a very pleasant experience. Do you have any stories or knowledge of how a sound journey can heal? What kind of things can it heal in your body?
Several years ago, I was working in Stockholm at an energy center. I mean, a center that teaches management of subtle energy. And they had brought 3 scientists from Russia. And one guy had invented a sensor way ahead of his time that actually measured the meridians in the body. You know, the meridians, the 12 meridians according to Chinese medicine, which measure the energy in each of the vital organs. And so they hooked up some people while I gave a sound journey. They hooked people up, 2 or 3 people. I think I still have the PowerPoint presentation from all those years ago. That literally each of the instruments that I played had an effect, but all 3 people began the sound journey with wild fluctuations in their energies, and particularly the left-right balance was out of kilter. But
Right.
after the sound journey, everybody had beautiful flat lines between the left and right energies in the left and right side of each meridian. So there you could immediately see that a sound journey restored balance and harmony at the energetic level to all the body's vital organs.
Amazing. So it's really about balance and the harmony. I love, because harmony, it brings in the musical descriptive word of it, but it really does bring it into that harmony.
Right. Well, because the correct word for overtones is harmonics. Okay.
Yes.
Harmonics is more the scientific term. And what harmonics mean are literally whole number multiples of the fundamental tone. So whichever tone you sing or play on your instrument, that's your fundamental, or it's the first harmonic. And then your other harmonics are multiples of that. So if I sing 100 hertz or cycles per second,
yes,
the harmonics will be 200, 300, 400, 500, 600. It's perfectly, it's not even geometric, it's arithmetic. And this was all discovered 2,600 years ago by Pythagoras. And you think, 2,600 years ago, he figured this out using a monochord and dividing the string into equal parts, half, a third, a quarter, a fifth, a sixth of a string. And the harmonics resulted from that. And literally, that's where we get the laws of harmony from the original natural harmonic series or overtone scale.
Yes.
Hundreds of years later, we invented modern Western instruments which are tuned to a man-made synthetic scale. So this literally means, and without offending all modern musicians, our modern system is based on the 12-note even-tempered chromatic scale. That's 12 notes in the octave. And we all know that actually oct means 8, so octave should be 8 notes. But we've squeezed 12 of them into the same space. If we look here at a Shruti box, that is tuned to the piano, here we would have C, D, E, F, G, A, B.
Yes.
And what would be the black notes on the piano would be C, C sharp, B, D, D sharp. Then you get E, but where there wasn't enough space to insert an extra semitone. So, so there you can see how actually unharmonious the Western octave is. It's unbalanced.
Yes.
And the intervals are all wrong. They do not create the harmonious intervals that occur on the natural overtone scale.
Can you
maybe
can't sing what it sounds like or play what it sounds like with the natural harmonics?
I'll sing you a scale. Okay, I'll see how this is a brand new microphone I'm using. The old one worked great, but many microphones cut out when you sing the overtones. It's just too much for them, and they go into shock. So let's see if this works. know how well that transmitted. How did that sound from your side?
It sounded lovely and it felt really good too. I could feel it in my heart. It was like, wow. Very beautiful.
Okay, good.
So that makes sense. That makes sense. That's different to the Western semitones.
Yeah. So in each octave you go up, you have double the number of musical tones in each octave.
It really makes sense when you say you're sounding the mathematics of creation.
But that's truly what it is. You know, if you have an overtone flute, for example, and I know people in South Africa are very familiar with the overtone flute. It's all part of the vuvuzela family.
Right.
Unfortunately, actually, I still have a piece of beautiful seaweed that Dean Leprini gave us 20-something years ago. One of them I cut into an overtone flute that has the most haunting overtones. But here is just a very simple pipe, and on it there's a mouthpiece. But if I just blow, then you get overtones. There's no holes in this instrument.
I was wondering what an overtone flute is. Now I understand. Oh, lovely.
So by blowing harder, you get higher and higher and higher overtones, similar to a normal flute, in fact. And of course, every wind instrument player knows that you get overtones or harmonics by overblowing. So you can take your flute into the next octave just by overblowing.
Yes.
You can create with saxophones and clarinets as well. You can create these ultra high sounds simply by blowing too hard into your wind instrument.
Is it a similar effect with when you're singing? It's not. That's just the way that your mouth is shaped to create that sound, right?
Well, in addition to you have to divide the mouth cavity in a way that creates a valve. I'm not going to tell you how. You have to come to a workshop for that. You know already, Nick. But so what's involved is creating a channel like a wind instrument. All wind instruments have a reed or a valve that squeezes the air passage and makes the overtone jump out. This can be created in different parts of the body. So you can do it back at the back of the throat, or in the mouth cavity using the tongue to help. But of course you need to use the lips and all the other parts of the body. So what I'm doing is literally giving voice to the harmonics that are already there within my voice.
Right.
So all human beings have the same overtones in our voices.
Yes. But yours are particularly...
We all have exactly the same.
You've really got... Yeah, I mean, I can't do what you can do. Does it make a difference if you have a female voice to a male voice? Because I don't know if that's why I can't make those. I mean, I can make the sounds, but they're not as resonant. They're not as loud.
No, the men have an advantage here, and this is not a sexist thing. It's just pure physical restrictions. There is a a glass ceiling, sorry to say, Nikki, with the overtone singing, because men generally sing at least one octave below a woman.
Right.
Now, if you think of dividing a string, imagine Pythagoras discovered the overtones and the arithmetic or the mathematics of the overtone series by dividing the string. Now, a woman's has half the length of string as a guy. Mm. So if you're looking at the division of a string, you think, okay, well, if I'm singing, ah, then I can only divide the string so many times before I run out of string, okay?
Yeah.
So if I go into like a falsetto voice or a higher voice,
wow.
There I'm singing more like in the female voice. Okay, more in the female voice.
Do. Wow.
So I can easily get 8 overtones or 8 harmonics there. But if I sing in my voice, ha, 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 there I'm going to get 15 or 16 overtones, double the amount of a woman who sings 1 octave higher.
Right.
Also, not just women, but in fact in Mongolia or Tuva, which are the 2 countries most famous for their throat singing, they always sing in a very high fundamental when they're doing those high overtones.
Yes.
They sing very high fundamentals, which only gives them access to a limited part of the overtone scale, which is all they need, because they are singing traditional folkloric songs.
Yes.
With their overtones. They are not healing, they are not trying to create meditative or trance-like music. They're using very high-pitched frequencies, which I would definitely not use in a sound journey or a healing or a meditational concert, because it's just not appropriate.
Yeah.
So there are different ways you can use the overtones. Sorry, Nikki.
Yeah, it's interesting because very few people have kept any overtone in their music. I mean, from what I understand, it's just the Tibetan monk and the Mongolian Tuvan singers that we know that it's originated from.
Well, actually, no, Nikki. Right round the corner, you have, in the Eastern Cape, you have the Nkoko singers. You have the Nkokolo singers.
Okay.
And these are some Xhosa women that sing deep voice throat singing, overtone singing. They were discovered in 1982 by Reverend David Dargy in the Eastern Cape, who was paying people, local musicians, and he heard, to bring their instruments and play their instruments and explain their instruments, as he's an ethnomusicologist.
Right.
And he came across a lady who was singing in this very low, deep voice.
Yes.
And he asked if there were more, if she knew any others, and she said no, she thinks she was the last one. So this created panic at an international level, because they only just discovered South African overtone singing, and there's only one person left that can do it. So they quickly looked around, and eventually they found 6 or 7 other women that could do this technique. And in fact, I don't know if if I'm allowed to share my screen with you, but at some point, I can show you a photo.
So this knowledge would have been passed down to the people that were still overtoning in this part of Southern Africa, the Western Cape.
It was passed down from woman to woman, and they teach the girls only. After the age of 17, because the vocal cords are very connected to the second chakra, where we have our sexuality, etc. And so only girls who have completed puberty are allowed to, are taught this technique. So they've reawakened it. And what happened was, I was in Cape Town, or we were in Cape Town for the Parliament of World's Religions in 1999. And I discovered that these ladies were in Cape Town during the Parliament, and I arranged to meet them.
Okay, great. So if you're watching this on YouTube, you can see the picture. There we go.
So these ladies are from the Eastern Cape, and they sing overtones in a traditional way. It sounds like a musical bow, you know, the overtone mouth bow.
No.
Sounds very much like that.
Yes, with the one string, right.
Yeah, like my Bosini plays.
Some of them have a coconut on them as well, but otherwise it's just tied one piece of string from around a piece of wood. It looks a bit like a bow and arrow.
It's just a simple bow.
Yes.
Yeah, just the bow, and a corner of it gets tucked into the cheek, and you use the mouth to create the overtones, or to amplify the overtones. So this is in the church in District 6 in Cape Town.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so that was a bit of overtone history. So actually, South Africa is one of the very few places on the planet where overtone singing developed outside of Asia. And the other place where it's not really a very well-developed form, but is on the island of Sardinia. There are groups of men, four to a choir. They make little choirs of 4 men, and it's a very ritualized, traditional, almost religious practice. But one of the guys does what's very similar to the to the deep voice of the Tibetan monks. It's very similar to that, but also sometimes the 4 voices blend together and create an overtone that is created by the sum, or the interaction, the wave interference of the 4 singers creates a difference, or a summation tone that is an overtone created by 4 people, not just by one. And that has quite an interesting effect.
Yeah, and how different people have really been able to play with all these different harmonics around the world. I'm sure a lot of it's been lost. I'm sure there must have been more.
Most likely there was more, probably. But you see, overtone singing is something that anyone can discover for themselves.
Yes.
Many children would, or maybe did, discover it for themselves until their parents, who maybe just, you know how kids make noise, or they'll sit in the back of the car going, no, 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 until mommy and daddy go, shut up. So Michelle's work is about healing the shut-ups that people have received throughout their entire lives. He helps people to overcome the blockages, you know, and that we received way back in the old South Africa from such a strict disciplinary corporal punishment system that we had. I mean, I was given loads of traumas by loads of teachers, primary school, high school, etc. Lots of shut-ups. So once we overcome the shut-ups, then we free the voice to be able to really glory in your own sound, in the beauty of your own sound. And then, of course, I highly recommend overtone singing to anybody, because it's an innate human talent that we could all learn, you know.
Yeah, it almost feels like you can heal the body, your own body, through just using those overtones, just using your voice. And I know, I mean, it's very healing to use your voice, and you even using specific words. But the vibration of the overtones gives you a feeling of well-being when you're doing it yourself, or that's what I've experienced.
this is why I decided to do it. You know, I mean, I was nearly 30 years old when I first heard overtones, and Michelle had done a course in the UK, and she came home from this course. She was pregnant with our daughter at the time. Our daughter's now 25 years old and a superb singer and overtone singer in her own right. Yeah, she has a huge following already, fans on Instagram and whatever. So Michelle came back from the UK and said, oh, listen to what I can do. And she was just following some guidance that she'd been given by this particular woman who's rather famous, well known in the area. So I won't mention her name, but she doesn't really focus on the finest techniques of overtone singing that allow everybody to get it immediately the way I do. She just kind of says, yeah, do this, sing this word, and your overtones will just happen automatically. But it doesn't help people to know where they are or what they're doing or how to go up and down the scale. That information was missing, and I had to figure it all out for myself over months and years of practice, because we're talking 1995.
Yeah, well, that's amazing, because now you're able to teach other people how to do it. You know, you've had to do it step by step yourself.
Yeah, that, you know, I'm grateful for that, because I had to figure out painstakingly over weeks and months, every little step, every bit of progress. I had to really fight and work hard. So that gives me this ability to transmit very quickly and effectively to people with absolutely zero musical or singing experience in a very short time, how to do this. Everybody can learn to do this, and it's never too late to start.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the beauty of it. We can use our voice till the day we leave the planet. Yeah.
Let's hope that's a long time.
Yes. I wanted to ask you a little bit about tuning forks. I read on your website that a really great way to use tuning forks on the body is to use it through the bone. How does it work? How does a tuning fork work? Because it only has one sound.
Frequency.
One frequency, yes, because it does have more sounds, but the frequency kind of vibrates within itself.
One frequency means one sound.
Okay.
Quite literally.
Okay.
Tuning forks, in fact, do have overtones, but the particular shape and structure of a tuning fork means that it filters out, and the overtones literally die off within a few seconds of activating the fork, because the fork vibrates. In fact, if you give me 1 second, I'll fetch a tuning fork.
Yeah, please.
I have my whole box of goodies here.
Oh, goodies. It's like toys. My favorite kind of toys. Wow.
Yeah. I have a huge amount of toys. So here's a nice big fork.
Yeah.
And so this is an osteophonic fork. Okay, so you can see it's got these two big, it has these two big round weights on it. In fact, all tuning forks that have these rounded weights are strong enough to vibrate and transmit their frequency to the bones.
Wow.
Okay. So, well, this one is the higher octave and this one is the lower octave.
Right, the bigger one's the lower octave.
Probably.
For the ones just listening, for the people who aren't watching on YouTube.
I don't know if you can hear that.
No, it's not coming through.
No, to hear the fork, you need a much higher frequency.
Right.
So there you need these unweighted forks have a much, or those of a higher frequency.
Yes.
And so this one is 2 octaves higher than this one.
Okay, it's smaller and it doesn't have the weights on the top. I heard it when you knocked
But if I
it,
turn,
and the sound went
yeah,
off quite quickly through your microphone.
so not ideal.
Yeah.
Of course, they do go higher and higher.
Yes. I know it's a lovely tone, and I've had the pleasure of having quite a large one uh, knocked and then put onto my back, and my whole nervous system just calmed down. It was amazing. And in fact, it was quite
Yeah.
an amazing story because a friend of mine had acquired this, and I had just lost my beloved first furry child, and I was in quite a lot of grief. My dog passed away, and he had brought this to a class we were doing, and he said, I'm gonna play this. I'm gonna let this tone on your back." And
Right.
it felt like a lot of that trauma in that moment just dropped away and cleared. It was quite amazing.
Yeah, they are very, very powerful. And we've excellent results on many levels with the tuning forks. But it's essentially, this particular fork is called the Nerve Tuner.
Okay, that's a
And
really
that
large one.
is also, yeah, and it's because it's only 50 hertz,
Okay.
50 cycles per second.
Yes.
So it's even lower than this fork here, which is the one that's traditionally used on the bones and articulations. This one is also super excellent, and it'll work on the bones, but also on the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous systems. And you can place it on the vertebra. All you do, these forks are so elastic because of the length of the tines, of the prongs. It's very elastic.
Yeah,
so you don't need to strike it, because if you strike this fork, you risk clashing the two together, which would be a very shocking sound for your client. They would literally jump off the massage bed or jump off the therapy bed or jump, out of their skin. So what you want is to easily just squeeze the two weights together.
Yeah.
And release, as if you're popping a grape out of its skin. You squeeze and release.
Right.
Like
and then it just vibrates after that. Yeah. Amazing.
And then it should vibrate. You can see the vibration there. Look at that.
Yeah. Wow.
Can you see the?
Yeah, it looks a bit like when you wave a spoon, and it looks like it's not straight anymore.
Yes. It's the elasticity of the metal.
Yeah. Okay.
So that should last for a good 20 seconds. And then what you do is you place the handle of the fork directly on the articulation, on the sternum, on the coccyx, on the vertebra, in the area you wish to treat. And it doesn't have to be a problem with that articulation. It could be with the muscle near to that articulation. But it's the bones that transmit the frequencies very effectively. You can also place these forks on the reflex points of the feet or hands. So you can do foot reflexology. And so a few years ago, I invented
it's got a little ball at the bottom.
Balls.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is very high quality quartz crystal.
Wow.
That has been drilled. So it's been drilled with a hole in it so that it fits perfectly onto the handle of the fork.
Yes.
And that allows literally massage oils with essential oils. You can do massage wrinkle removal.
Oh my gosh, I need one of those.
On the face or elsewhere.
Yeah.
And no batteries required. You can get it's very, very useful. That's absolutely.
You can use this during load shedding.
When Eskom pulls the switch, then you can still have your tuning fork treatment without having to plug anything in. And so it's super. You can actually slide it along the skin using therapy oils, essential oils, etc. And it's an amazing vibrational therapeutic massage. So tuning forks are incredibly powerful because they're localized. They focus on one specific frequency. So after a couple of seconds, the overtones all die off, which means you're getting a pure sinusoidal wave, sine wave,
Yes.
that transmits very deeply and effectively throughout the body. And of course, tuning forks can also be used, around and in the energy field. If you literally activate a tuning fork and hold it above your hand like this,
yes,
you can actually, like that, you can feel the vibrations without even touching.
Oh, wow.
So 2 or 3 centimeters away,
Yes.
I can feel that tickling the palm of my hand
Yes.
without touching.
Oh, wow.
And
that's
also
the wave.
Yeah, and as soon as you apply the forks to your ears, already that vibration goes through the nervous system, down the spinal cord to all the major organs. So this is a connection that we form during pregnancy, because as you know, the fetus has fully developed hearing after 16 to 18 weeks. So
it's incredible.
4.5 months of pregnancy, the fetus can hear everything, can hear mommy's voice and hopefully daddy's voice as well.
Yes.
That stimulus is vitally important for the developing fetus. So just during that part of the fetus's development, during pregnancy, all sounds are directed from the ears directly to the major organs. And that's how the baby, in fact, develops its major organs, because it is receiving sounds and stimulus from the mother's inner body sounds and organs. Yes. So maybe it's using that like a sonic blueprint. That's again, it's another Nestor theory or idea.
Yeah, that makes sense. I like it.
It uses the mother's internal organs as a vibratory model or blueprint to complete the development of its own organs.
Yes.
It seems logical to me, but of course it may be nothing to do with reality at all, but it's a great theory.
But it is interesting. It's one of the the first organs that are fully completed at such a young age, still in
absolutely. It's the first of our 5 senses to be completed is hearing, and that gives us an indication of how vitally important the ears are for our development. But it's been a pleasure.
It's been wonderful. I've learned so much. It's absolutely fascinating, all that you have to teach. It's now become a dream to come and visit you in Spain, to your lovely dome. I would love to come and do a course with you and Michelle in that absolutely gorgeous space of yours. And thank you so much for chatting and giving your knowledge.
It's a pleasure. For me, it's not work. I'm doing what I love doing. So that's the difference, and that's why sound keeps us young, because we do what we love doing.
Yeah. And it's certainly kept you young as well. Speak to you soon. Thank you. Thank you so much, Nestor. Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you so much for being here and listening to NixyPod. You can follow me, Nikki Felbert, on Instagram and Twitter, and you can check out my latest film, Origins of Consciousness, on Fundraiser and Facebook. If you haven't yet, you can subscribe, rate, and review NixyPod on this podcast and on YouTube.